All right, Nolly Secunda taking that one, making sure that if Black Legion win, we might end up in some severe math. That's
severe math.
Severe
Not
math.
the normal type.
Not the normal type. All right, let's quickly look at the schedule for today so you guys can see what we have coming up for you. That was the first match of the day. We still have a ton to go. Unreloaded versus Black Legion is next at 5:20, which is actually in a minute or two, so we might switch very quickly. And then, of course, we'll run till around 5:30 Eve. We'll take a quick break, come back with the Verge of Collapse, with Dead Terrace and the Gorgon Empire at 6:20, and then run till 9 o'clock. And at 9 o'clock tonight, 9 o'clock Eve, we will know who the final teams for tomorrow are. And from then on, it gets even more serious business. All right, so the match. You guys will have to explain a little bit to me, because I saw choke point set up, and I thought it looked a little bit grab bag. I didn't really get it.
It was their attempt, like they were trying to bring an underpointed setup and win, which we're probably going to see a fair bit of today with these teams that really need to get the extra points to go through. It was a gutsy call on their part to do that, and like props to them for trying it. It didn't work out. I think they probably could have made some better picks, especially with those frigates. The Daredevils were definitely the weak link, and Nully saw it. They don't have the tech to resist, so they took those down first. If those had been, say, Ishkars, I think it might have held up a little bit better. But it was always going to be tough to come in with 12 points less and take it.
Well, I think they could have looked at Rote Capella's setup, who last weekend came 8 points short, and with a much stronger setup. I think with this setup, they just really didn't have the DPS to handle those ASBs that would have been on the Nightmares. So, I mean, those ASBs would have been able to take those assault frigates pretty well.
They built it as kind of an assault frigate control team. So lots of webs and newts with trying to go for the long game, but they just need to keep their assault frigates up for that. And they weren't able to keep the Daredevils up, and then everything fell apart.
Yeah, and we haven't seen a lot of Nightmares.
We've seen, I think, one or two so far in the tournament. I think we saw one from Evoke and then one in the prelim stages.
Raiden was using it too.
But,
it was whoever was facing Raiden.
The Vindicator is a much more popular ship just because of the web bonus and just the insane DPS from the blasters. So the Nightmare does, I believe, get 2 utility high slots though, which is useful. We can get smart bombs and newts and just.
I think we saw them have smart bombs on in this match.
Yeah, and newts, which were very effective.
But all in all, it's not as effective in my opinion, just because of how much cap the lasers use and just. They're really bulky. Like they don't have the speed of the Vindicator as well.
Are they pretty much dependent on cap transfer?
In this case, they weren't.
Right.
In this case, they were probably cap injected, and then probably would have been relying on that to make it through, keeping their guns going. MWDing a lot throughout that fight. But you can use them with the cap transfer chain back and forth. But that makes you very vulnerable to ECM.
Yeah, the curse that Choke Point brought really wasn't in new range for most of the fight, or didn't have Recon 5. So he wasn't able to really get that cap away from those Nightmares to shut down those lasers.
Yeah, that's a good point. We didn't see any cap drain at all really on the Nightmares.
We saw it here and there. I think he was trying to get his newts on the Simi, but was struggling to do so.
Yeah, all right. And we saw a lot of webs going on the Nightmares. Michael Bolton commented that he thought that was a bad choice. But you guys disagreed, right?
Well, it's not the worst choice. If they could have gotten the webs on the Simi right off the bat, which you would hope that you'd be able to with a Rapier, overheated webs, and a Claymore. If they'd been able to do that, that would have been a better choice. But keeping the Nightmares in place to allow you to keep some range from them is good. The problem with doing that against a Nightmare, though, is with Scorch, they have great range. So even if they're just sitting in the middle of the arena, they project this big bubble of damage around them.
Yeah, they're trying to use the webs of the Rapier to keep the Nightmares from moving closer to their logistics, so that the assault frigates get on top of the logistics, and then also use the tracking disruptors for optimal range to dampen the range of that Scorch crystal on the Nightmares. So I mean, they're a little bit.
There was definitely a plan behind the setup, and I don't think it was a terrible setup by any means. It could have been optimized a little bit better, maybe with a bit more practice, but it just came down to they tried to bring 12 points under. It was a big gamble, and it didn't pay off.
It certainly didn't. All right, so let's wrap up Group A. We have Unreloaded versus Black Legion. What do you say, Laz?
Definitely Unreloaded. Their Vargers have been amazing so far in this tournament.
Yeah, I'm going with Hun as well.
Yeah, I'll stick with them as well.
All right, well, I think I may go with Unreloaded as well. Let's see if they bring the Vargers, which might be the smart choice because they will not at any point have shown their second setup in this tournament and still advance.